So first of all, my name is Nia McAllister, and I'm so excited to be hosting tonight's open mic. I'm the Visitor Experience Manager at the Museum of the African Diaspora in San Francisco. And as I, set the stage for tonight, I do want to acknowledge the time that we're living in. As we know, we're living through multiple pandemics at the moment. We're experiencing the effects of COVID-19, as well as the ongoing pandemic, which is the systemic violence against Black people. And so this tonight is a space to recognize all of our feelings of grief, of anger, of exhaustion, and also to find comfort and joy in each other's company. And so all are welcome in this space as we share in the vulnerability of expressing ourselves. And I do want to emphasize that we are here to center and uplift all of our voices and also amplify Black voices in this time. And so before we also get into more of the logistics of what this open mic will look like tonight, I want to acknowledge the spaces that we're all calling in from. And though we're in a virtual setting, it's still important that we acknowledge whose land this is. And so as many of us are either settlers, immigrants, or descendants of those forcibly brought to this continent, our institutions were founded upon exclusions and erasures of Indigenous peoples whose lands we are located on. And so it's with deep respect that MOAD acknowledges that even in a virtual space like this, our people, our work, and our network servers are all on Native lands. And so we thank the Indigenous people of the Bay Area and beyond who've stewarded this land throughout many generations. And I'm always so grateful for the community and healing through art. And so for those of us who are new in this space and returning, these are the logistics for the event. So I ask that everyone who is listening, who is not reading at the time, please keep your microphones on mute out of respect for the reader. And it is different now that we're in this virtual format where open mics are usually more interactive. We can affirm each other, we can react verbally. And so I encourage folks to use the chat function to send affirmations to each other, respond with lines that stood out in each other's poems. You're welcome to use the reactions as well, air claps, snaps. Those are all encouraged so that we can support our readers tonight. I will be posting the lineup in the chat at the beginning and later in the event, probably individually message folks if you're coming up in the next 2 or 3 people. If for some reason readers join late and I've already passed you in the lineup, please message me directly and I can make sure that you're added back in if you were part of the original lineup. And just to be respectful of everyone's time, make sure if you're reading that you keep within the 4 minutes that is allotted to each reader. And about halfway through the event, I'll be introducing our feature for tonight, Yeva Johnson. And then we'll conclude the evening after her feature with the remaining open mic readers. Couple more logistics. I'm really grateful for the support of Art Bridges, who is generously helping us support a lot of our programs, including this open mic series. And we also appreciate your support as attendees and audience members. If you are able to financially donate to MOAD, we do appreciate that. And we'll be sharing more information in the chat and later on about ways to donate both through our website and easily through your phone. And we do also want to hear how our programs are. So for those of you who have been coming to a lot of our virtual programs or are new to our programs, we're going to be posting a survey in the chat as well, just to get feedback, how we can better serve our communities and audiences. So that was a lot, but I'm going to get started. And I'm really excited to introduce our first reader for tonight, Sarai Bordeaux. Welcome. Welcome up to the mic.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Just as I begin, just thank you so much for holding the space and continuing to hold the space and for acknowledging whose land we're on and just making it abundantly clear the responsibility that we have to make sure that our actions are reflective of what we want to see. I just really appreciate that. Just a general content warning. I don't know, curse words may happen just here. But this poem is kind of after what was happening and what had happened with AOC, and how she had the space and the wherewithal to defend herself in a government building after having been called outside of her name by another government official. So this is untitled as of right now. Angel turns into bitch, turns into not enough, turns it back into angel again. Good or bad when you feel like it, when we feel like it. I can't always keep up. Don't see what others see, can't tell the breakdown or the breakthrough they mean when they say I'm so close to one. All I can see is how I'm handling the breaking. And in that, I thought I was doing just fine, taking my divine time, putting myself back together again, listening to my insides, but no, that is not the case. So even in my dreams, I'm anxious. Naps are not the magic they could be, because even there, I'm being judged. Also worried about judging, about grudging, about letting all of the names I've been called take me out the game. I thought for a second I was winning, and now I'm aware of the too much I've given to the word angel and to bitch. The dissonance spins me around until I'm stopped, full stop. I face the mirror and have nothing to say. No affirmation, no kind words, just my lip turned up in disgust, taking me further away from the work I know I'm needing to do. Rest is all the rage right now, but let's talk about rest as the great white right, about what happens when even sitting down is a bubbling stew of confusion, of doubt, of remembering, of wondering why I couldn't live up to your expectation again, why I'm falling off yet again. All of this, and here you come with bitch. Enter the breakdown. The one they said I'm too good for, have too many blessings for, too privileged for, the one they said I haven't suffered enough for, and I get that. The romanticization of mental health that makes an entitlement how ignoring well-being is a sign of strength until it takes me out of the game. Then it's like, wow, why didn't you just rest? Take care of yourself. When? Where? How? Especially now that everyone all of a sudden, you know what? The all of a suddens are for another poem. Here I am though, still wanting, forever wishing I had done things better, that I was somehow less how I have been before, that I insisted you call me by my name in the first place. This has happened more than once. Angels have had to die to become angels in most cases. I, on many days, am still very much alive. On fire, on earth, on air and water, I am still very much here on this planet. Not to be your bitch though, that bitch, this bitch, my own bitch maybe. Sometimes until I learn different words for this conflicting power, I'm not ready for heaven or hell just yet. So here I'll stay. Now I'll say, my name is Sarai. Repeat that with you until you get it right, so I can continue picking up my pieces in peace. So I can live my healing in peace, so that when it's time, I can finally rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarai, for that piece. It was extremely powerful and very needed and timely. Next up to the mic, I'd like to invite T. Watts. Welcome, T.
Trying to unmute. Okay, caught me by surprise. Howdy, everybody. It's always such a blessing to share the mic and the screen with those of you who are seen and unseen. And thanks to Moad and for everybody for participating. I'm going to read 2 eulogies tonight, but don't be dismayed because there's always joy to follow. And this first poem was written a long time ago. It's a eulogy for a funk singer whose name was Dyke, and the band was the Blazers. And in 1967, they had a hit record called Funky Broadway, Parts 1 and Part 2. So this is another eulogy for Dyke of the Blazers, who incidentally, his real name was Arlester Christian. And I remember reading in Jet magazine the report of the detective investigating his death by homicide, saying that Dyke had more tracks, junkie tracks on his arm than any cadaver he'd ever seen. They don't know, but they don't know, you screamed. Square mothers frowned and even cut you off the air in '67. They wouldn't understand what goes down on Broadway, and funky was not a proper adjective. In Oakland, every town, there is a Broadway, sometimes deserted. I stood there at naive 14, close to midnight, waiting on my bus, hip in my iridescent trench coat. What I took to be a white man stood there also, waiting, but not on a bus. Head down, digging my Tom McCanns, I thought. He inched closer. So slowly I paid no mind. His hand moved suddenly, seeking my young manhood. Shaking initial shock, I jumped back. He ran. I gave chase for a block, got stopped by a cop, sweating in my tracks. I didn't know what to do. I turned and walked slowly back to the bus stop, broke a bottle against the curb on my way to slash his face with if he came back before my bus. Wilson Pickett made all the bread, but I know what Dyke was talking about. Nasty, dirty Broadway, funky playground of predators preying easily on naive souls who think they're hip. And the next and final poem I just finished this morning. It's another eulogy for a friend of mine. Some of you may be aware of the passing of Eddie Gale, the famous jazz trumpeter who passed on July 10th. He's a friend of mine. So this is a poem on the passing of Eddie Gale, a jazz father of the Sons of Bop. Edward Gale Stevens, Jr., 1941 to 2020. A Brooklynite bopper to be of the Geechee Gullah bloodline. The Bugle called you from the Cub Scout climb. You learned how to march, learned how to play, how to doo-wop, dance, and blow in and out of the fray. Beholden of jazz culture's golden battlefield code, University of the Bandstand became a chop-heavy load. You slung with cats only poets and mothers cannot forget. Sun Ra, Cecil Taylor, Larry Young, Train, and Jaquette. Inner peace was your grease, a bomb toward making all bombs cease. Sonic elixir spewed forth from your horn of plentiful worth. The knell now sounds the dirge as you exit this earth. Now we kneel and bemoan your precious ascension to the gate of heavenly convention. Your children of bops still hear you, Master Gale, as you join our ancestors forever to wail. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those pieces, T, and for honoring those ancestors that way. I appreciate those. Next up in the open mic, we have Brian Franco. Welcome.
Shalom from Brunswick, Maine, everybody. I'm going to do a piece, and it's about a Jewish family, and there's a couple of terms in it. First, one term is shtetl, which was a Jewish village in Eastern Europe. Another is pogrom, and pogroms were when they forced Jews out of their villages. It was usually with a lot of violence, destruction of property, and then they were forced to leave with nowhere to go. If you saw Fiddler on the Roof, that was a pogrom at the very end of that. And then there's also some food in there. One is kickle, which is a lace cookie. That should be the only one you shouldn't recognize. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up this poem for you, which is called The Invisible Song of Wounds. On cool, early autumn evenings, he liked sleeping on the deck of the lake house. This night he was kissed by the moon and the invisible song of wounds. He was 6 and kissed by the prettiest girl in the first grade. He felt warmth engulf his face. He giggled and giggled, that first grade boy. He giggled quietly, that middle-aged man sleeping under the stars, while his wife hugged a down comforter in the bedroom and his teenage son tossed and turned on an uncomfortable sofa bed. The next morning, his wife kissed him when she said, "I don't understand why you never catch cold when you sleep out there." His son kissed him when he complained about the sleeper sofa bar and mattress springs. His mother arrived around noon and kissed him with a homemade honey cake, crispy kickle, and a bakery challah. The memory of his father kissed him when he claimed the end pieces of the challah at Shabbat dinner. He kissed his father back because he was having Shabbat dinner lakeside, sounds of nature blessing the meal and colors of sunset filtering through screens of open windows, kissing flames of Sabbath candles. He was kissed by a great-grandmother he never knew as he stared into brass candlesticks a poor Polish woman from Szydłów chose to take to America when escaping pogrom. He kissed her back because he knew her spirit kissed every flame that rose from those candlesticks. He was kissed by love. He was kissed by tradition. He was kissed by history. He was kissed by things he knew too well and things he never knew. He accepted these kisses unconditionally and absorbed them into his being. And this night he was kissed by the moon and the invisible song of wounds. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that piece. Has really great imagery in it.
Gracias.
Next up, I would like to invite Avacha to the mic. Welcome, Avacha. Hi there, Avacha.
Hey, family. I just walked in the door. Can you please call me in a minute or two?
Yeah, for sure. We'll come back to you in the list.
I appreciate it.
Time. Let's see. Next, we will have Tony. Tony Alderondo, welcome.
Thank you, Nia. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Here we go. Church of a Poem. I baptized myself from McCarty last night before I put a pen in my hand. And it's been quite some time since I stepped deep inside the church of a poem. And I'll tell you that baptism McCarty had me feeling some kind of way. I felt like I was balancing on a hot wire while flipping words with infinite syllables like pancakes, swinging on a flying trapeze. Oh, it's been quite some time since I've stepped inside the church of a poem. And there are days and nights I never want to leave. What I've seen inside my mind's ring last night were two writing wrestlers discussing with love their opposite sides of the spectrum with pride. Inside my gray matter, where I don't hide the fact that for some time things didn't really matter. But I baptized myself in Bacardi last night before I put a pen in my hand, and I realized that it's been quite some time since I've stepped inside the church of a poem, where praises go up and blessings come down, and sometimes sacred verbs can get burned like sacred nouns to the ground. Now as I write, I smell the frankincense burning and remind myself for the last time it's been quite some time since I've stepped deep inside the church of a poem. Thank you. Poisoned. I saw her at an open mic poetry reading in San Francisco. I sat all alone in the very last row of that sweet little bookstore on 24th Street in the Mission. And when she began to read into the microphone, from the furthest region in the back of that room, I felt her warm embrace. My heart was pounding, my palms were sweating, and I was too scared to look up at her face. But then it happened. I looked up at her face, and when it did happen, she poisoned me. She poisoned me. I was poisoned by her poetry the moment I heard her read. The stars aligned as she read prose, my heart sped up and then it froze. I was poisoned by her poetry the moment I heard her read. Each word she said and read from the start was like acid rain that burned through my heart as she poisoned me with her poetry the moment I heard her read. Her words, they made my heart expand through her heat and made it melt. The more I fed on the words she read, the more of her I felt. I was poisoned by her poetry the moment I heard her read. Her words, they made my third eye blind and all my teardrops bleed. I was poisoned by her poetry the moment I heard her read. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony, for those pieces. It's always good to hear your work.
Thank you.
Avacha, can we call you to the mic now?
Grab this poem.
Wonderful. I always like your background also.
Oh, thank you. It's all about music. That's what life is about. Eddie
Absolutely.
and I both were born in Brooklyn, and I didn't even know he had passed until yesterday. And my heart is kind of broken. He's a powerful man, and hopefully he will not be forgotten. So I was going to do something else, but I think because he loved this poem, I'm only going to do part of it. It's a very long poem in my book. And when my book gets reprinted, please get it. It's called Every Step I Take. And the poem is called Global African Jazz Dance. It's a jolly thing, jolly, D-J-A-L-I. That means a traditional storyteller. Anyway, I am poetry's musical child, a born-again sound freak. I have always been here and I will always be here. And this time, like all the other times, was no accident. Someone somewhere in the bush wished me into existence. My coming was written in the field by some no-writing ancestor. An ancestor was always watching and noticed every single time old master wasn't looking and took a break from being broken. An ancestor was brave enough and defiant enough to risk their life and sing and dance and pray me into existence. I am the prize, the result of all their desperation, their trials and tribulation. I am the product of all those lives lived in whispers, the dreams they died for, the wish they couldn't speak of as me. A girl child cooled into being as much by necessity as by love and set free by all the unseen tears of too many brothers left hanging from too many trees. Too mad to be sad, the ancestor just spit me out and I was back in the mix. Choice? I had no say. I was given a job to do and I landed on the road where Howlin' Wolf Sun Ra, Celia Cruz and Sun Ra crossed paths and danced. They left me in the care of two very flamboyant and serious dancers, and the era I grew up in was completely saturated with the sweaty, graceful beauty of their art, the sexually explicit, erotic power of their syncopation, the inescapable hypnotic centuries-old gyrations, a harmonic signature of a long ago time, a time, I say time, when the spirit of poetry first put its musical spell on me. Mine is a timeless, jolly destiny, and there is no way to escape it. I even bleed in a mind and I dream in 13ths, and long before I was born, music took control of my soul. I never needed or wanted any of those corny nursery rhymes or musical 6/8 clave or Latunji's Yoruba chants for peace, Art Blakey's passion and drums called in the supernatural voice of Sabu. It was Sabu Martinez who sang my liberation song, and I fell asleep listening to the trees breathe. The sound of nightfall is my lullaby, and the nighttime is always my right time. And the complex, sensual simplicity of a Shirley Horn song will always make my soul sing. And Big Mama Thornton's sister was like a triple dose of adrenaline. Cab Calloway, the spirit man of swing, forced me to hear with my ears, and the pure spiritual integrity of Mongo Santa Maria left me breathless. His gift, a Latin jazz symphony, a mystical exercise you could dance to, left me so naturally high. I tried to laugh. I mean, I had to laugh. I had to laugh and cry. He made me want to sing. Their music is my medicine, a melodic, phonic, tonic jazz, one of those can't live without keys, a key that helps to set me free. Down at the crossroads where it all comes together, there's a party going on and it's calling out to me, calling out my name through the music and poetry scene. I hear it in the arrogantly funky wisdom of Gale and Kane and Kamal Daoud, the avant-garde brilliance of Jane Cortez and Q.R. Hand, the urban dreamscapes of Sonia Sanchez and Entezaki Shanghai, James Baldwin's boldness and the rhythmic intensity of Margaret Walker, the out-of-this-world worldliness of Talam Asi and Ishmael Reed, their poetry. Another kind of music, breathing words of fire into me, converting negative evil speak into fuel for genetic mind travel. Like the blues, one more sacred cosmic tool, a fertilizer creating art stronger than time, a power that makes me whole, complete, like an Oludada song, strong. My brother mixes his special brand of hoodoo into everything that he do. His musical storytelling, a double-edged machete in times of need, stronger than all the pain of chop and cane and in unrelenting heat, a sanctified salve, a sweet and mellow bassy tune, a feel holler, a scream. And I think I'll stop there because it goes on for quite a while. But thank you so much. And Eddie Gale, we used to play together, and I've known him for many years. I love him. His spirit will live forever. And you can keep him alive by buying his music and saying his name. So thank you, Eddie, for all you've given us and will continue to give us, and you'll stay alive with me. Thank you for listening to my words. Mm. Oh, and I'll put our poetry series in the chat for folks if they're interested.
Please do. Thank you. Thank you so much, Avacha. Your words are really, truly music. And I was sitting here thinking like you can literally dance to the things that you are saying so beautifully. So thank you.
That makes my heart sing because my heart is music and my life is music. So that's what it's all about. And so is Eddie Gale's.
It's beautiful. Yes, please share where you have future readings or venues. Please put that in the chat. Next up, I would like to invite Dee Allen to the mic. Welcome, Dee.
Thank you for welcoming me, Miss Nia. I'm going to do 2 poems for y'all tonight, and both of these poems happen to come from my 5th and new poetry book, Eloise Onichi, Poems, 2013 to 2018. And both of these poems are First Nations themed. The first one is a short half-pager, and this one focuses on America's First Nations, based on actual events that included me. This is called, and the title of the poem also happens to serve as the first line. This is called Kule Loklo, was what the Miwok Indians called Olima, California, prior to Spanish contact. The visitor center held no fresh wonders for me. The path ahead of it intrigued me more, cutting past eucalyptus trees, which finally led to Kule Loklo, nestled under thick Douglas fir trees, Katka. houses, where gatherers of salmon, clams, and acorns slept. Lama, sweat lodge, where men went sweating themselves to purity. Roundhouse, where the chief mother gave prayers to her clan. A step back in time to a village Miwok tongues named to honor. Valley of the Bear. And that first poem was called Kule Loklo, based on a trip I took to the North Bay, hoping I would go to Point Reyes, but I only got as far as Olema, California. At least I got to see this beautiful recreated Miwok Indian village called Kule Loklo. And the last poem comes from pages 24 and 25 in the book. And this one is a look at Canadian First Nations. Based on actual events and people, this is called Washaquonain. Many who had hiked through a Canadian wilderness a century ago took notice of a bird in flight, a rare one-deal Ojibwa called Washaquonain, he who flies by night. Once a hunter, a guide, a trapper, a living made from the furs in his sight, a rare one-deal Ojibwa called Washaquonain, he who flies by night. Into his forest lair, he gave shelter to a pair of beavers and a female pony, beautiful, willful, contrite. A rare one-deal Ojibwa called Washaquonain, he who flies by night. He recorded every caper onto pages of paper, turned articles and books. Thousands read his every insight. A rare one-deal Ojibwa called Washaquonain, he who flies by night. He took bold strides to speak for trees and wildlives. Nature's preservation from devastation became his plight. A rare one-deal Ojibwa called Washaquonain, he who flies by night. And then he traveled to an evening powwow where he'd show native chiefs how he embraced their ways, mastered their sacred dances by firelight. A rare one-deal Ojibwa called Washaquonain, he who flies by night. In Canada and England, news is spread. One day at home, he was suddenly dead. His secrets out, the red Indian was English and white. A rare one-deal Ojibwa called Washaquonain, he who flew by night. But never mind the buckskins, the feather headdress, the moccasins, or false tales about his past every slight. A rare one-deal Ojibwa called Washaquonain, he who flew by night. His other steps were true after all, preventing ecology's steady fall. What mattered was the nature of his fight. A rare one-deal Ojibwa called Washaquonain, he who flew by night. And that last poem was called Washaquonain for pages 24 and 25 of Eloionichi, now available from Conviction to Change Publishing. And that poem was for and about the late, great Archibald Bellany, also known as Grey Owl, 1888 to 1938, Canada's very first environmentalist. To Grey Owl, rest in peace. From this computer mic to yo ears, I'm Dee Allen. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Dee, for your pieces. And if there's a link to find your book, can you put that in the chat so people can find it?
Yeah, if anybody gives three damns.
I think some people on this call do. Thank you, Dee. Next up to the mic, we have Rachelle Heath. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to read a poem in 3 parts. It's titled Blending in a Costa Rican Beach Town During a Global Pandemic. Number 1. When I arrived, the word virus had not become a thing passed around kitchen tables. I walked these mango-lined streets with a lilt in my heels, searching the treetops for monkey families and smiling at the fruit sellers hawking papaya and watermelons on the side of the road. Buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas, buenas. My locks and dark skin easy camouflage on this tropical shore, allowing me to blend in with the birds of paradise and palm trees. But then the fruit sellers disappeared, along with people who look like me riding bikes hobble hobble to work. There is no work now. The streets are emptied of sounds and even the monkeys have gone silent. We hibernate behind our gates and locked doors, hiding from the plague we have seen rob breath, indiscriminate of status or strength. We will wait to bloom again. And when the aloe plants on my terrace sprout little red teardrop flowers on a tall stalk, and the passing rains make the green of the trees even more audacious than before, our town opens up like a hibiscus in the morning sun. We won. We beat back the invisible threat to a zero sum. But we celebrated too soon, made eyes with each other too quickly. Too quickly, we gathered around round outdoor tables to have coffee and chisme, and now we are dying again. Part 2. As I leave my house with a bright white N95 mask covering my lips, I am immediately outed as foreign. I can see the eyes of the few fruit sellers, but more importantly, I can see their lips. Scrunched into confusion, they thought I was one of them, but now I am outed as other. There is no stopping for buenos dias, buenas buenas. I move quickly to the sterile space that is the supermarket, greeted by masked attendants with hand sanitizer. Here I purchase goods and cans that I will wipe down and bags that I will spray with Lysol. All fruits are washed down with soap and water, and my hands are washed down while singing my ABCs yet again to make sure to destroy any virus that might be lurking on my skin after being out in the world. This is my new knowing of paradise, a feeling of safety gone slightly crooked. When did I become a carnation, or worse, a hornet's nest? When I wear the N95 mask, it is difficult to breathe. When I think of not wearing the mask, it is difficult to breathe. Part 3. I long to blend in again, to be like the explosion of flamboyant flowers that canopy the sky on the main road. They are expected here, as expected as the bougainvillea, hibiscus, and aloe flowers. One day I buy a cloth mask from a man who has set up a card table outside of the supermarket. The brilliant red covering hugs my face in a smile. Perhaps now I can be a flower, a hibiscus gone rogue. Perhaps now I will be okay.
Thank you so much for sharing. Your words are so vivid, and I feel like you transported us all to an experience that's both so unique, but also so universal and relatable. So thank you for sharing that piece. Next up, we have Normatics. Welcome, Norm.
Hi, good evening. This is such a lovely space. I love it. And this is for all of those people that's listening and speaking. It's the first piece. Speaker for the dead. I see your voice, a flood of generations, all speaking at once. Accents foreign and familiar. The tongues of our ancestors, speaking from beyond the veil. Audible silences, silent banter. Nothing needs saying, we hear the same voices. We speak through different eyes. We beat through the same heart. A united voice speaking truth that quakes in the hearts of liars that claim fidelity. Hearts finally listening, thinking to translate, transforming a reality that trembles under the weight of a one love heartbeat. Feel the ground shaking. This other piece is called, What's the Debate? Where's the forum for the debate? Or would that be taking the bait for the hook, the line, the sinker, the club, the bullet, the gun, the concrete slab, the 6 foot under microphone for words that died in the throats of the silent, dead before they could find the courage to be thought of, to be spoken with heart without martyrdom. The death of communion, the vilification of a fact checker, exiled looking for the truth about all of the killings, the fratricides, the homicides, the infanticides, the mamicides, the papicides. It's the suicides that are up, the result of blaming the victim who feels the fear like an uninvited guest, a hostage, a witness to a carnage, their own, a Khmer Rouge level murder, their own, fomenting ignorant fears that have more nothing than your neighbor, wanting more instead of sharing, all systems colliding head on with human reality, as if humanity is the barrier to making more. Systems making reality shows mockery of real life. Humanity is complex, with interdependent needs overlapping, needing to occupy that single space we must share to survive and thrive. Capitalist drives, killing the souls of individuals as rulers change rules. So they keep winning without playing fair. While citizens can't win a rigged game, don't even play because life ain't no game. Stop playing. Stop playing me. Stop killing. Stop killing me. Stop me from killing myself. Please. Peace.
Thank you so much, Norm. Every time, it's wonderful hearing your writing.
Oh, one.
You got another one for us?
This is where no, actually I just wanted to show where I can't even see how this is gonna, oh, there it is. Both of those poems came out of this book. And this is my first what do you call it, self-published. And as a matter of fact, I'm looking forward to my next book coming out with Normatics Press. Algorithms and Mathematic Love Poems.
Congrats. We're all very, very excited for that next book of yours. So I'm going to share a couple pieces and then introduce our feature for this evening. I had picked this newer poem to read before Rachelle ended up reading, but I feel like it plays with some of the same imagery. So this is entitled Muscle Memory. Muscle memory is only good for some things. 1, swallowing. 2, how 3 sections of hair become a braid. 3, the number of days it takes for a bruise to heal on my skin. 4, changing an earring without looking. 5, guiding soft fingertips until they find my release. 6, the way home. I need to remember how to breathe again. I pause what I'm doing, prepared to focus my efforts on one simple motion. I breathe in and in and in and in and in and in and in, and still I cannot catch my breath. I attempt a yawn, hoping to trick my body into filling my lungs with air I so desperately need. But she don't fall for my tricks. Instead, she says, pretend like you don't need it anymore. Then what? Who will you become? Meet her in the 3rd heartbeat, the one that thinks this is an appropriate time for double dutch. As if air is something to jump into, not the very medicine tomorrow counts on. So I breathe in and in and in and out. Free, free at last. Let's see. That's one of those pieces that I think will continue being more of a poem. This is its first version and may be expanded at some point, but it feels ever relevant. Let's see. Guess I'm just in the mood to share new unfinished pieces. Here is another one. I never met my mother's original face. She has 32 teeth. Most are shadows of pearl, a couple of them golds. I have only known half of them. Full two smiles are stranger to the imagination of my favorite person. I picture her, tired cheek resting upon a cold bus window, the lull of motion easing her body slip into dreamland. Perhaps one curve too many or a delayed reaction jolts her awake. She turns to the fogged window, only to be greeted by the loss of her own expression. I never met the woman who stepped onto the bus. She becomes familiar only from old family photos. How her smile lit up, it still does, when she lets it dance behind her practiced bashful palm. A half-moon face, fitting only because my mother loves a crescent best. She says, look at the moon. How beautiful, I reply, looking at her. Thank you. And with that, I think it is time to introduce our wonderful feature for this evening. I'm so lucky to introduce this person who has been such, not only just a supporter of MOAD, an active participant in so many of our programs, but an extremely talented artist who I'm so proud and happy to share space with. So Yeva Johnson is a poet and musician whose previous work appeared or is forthcoming in the Bellington Review and Sinister Wisdom. Yeva was nominated for a Pushcart Prize. Her poems explore interlocking caste systems and the possibility for human connection. A past artist in residence for Show Us Your Spines, sponsored by Radar Productions and the SF Public Library, and part of the QTPOC F4 FSHO. I definitely said that wrong. Sorry, Yeva. A small and sustaining arts collective. Yeva is a board member of the Marin Poetry Center. Welcome, Yeva.
Olivia, thank you so much. I want to thank MOAD. I'm so excited to be here. And thank you, Nia McAllister and Elizabeth Gessel for inviting me today. And I want to give also a big thank you to Reina De Leon. She directed me to MOAD last year. My life has been so enriched by MOAD in so many ways, from poetry to book clubs to art, dance, films, plays, and other amazing events, both in person and online. And I've gotten to see Nia and Elizabeth at many of them. Check out their website, check out MOAD. I also want to thank all my family, friends, poetry siblings, teachers, mentors, and writing buddies for helping me get here. I'm grateful to be here today. I acknowledge I am reading from San Francisco, which is Ramaytush Ohlone territory. And I have a short list of groups I want to thank. I'm going to try not to talk too long because we're going to get to the poem. I got a ton of poems for you. But over the past year or so, especially this time of sheltering in place, these groups have helped to keep me alive. Alley Cat Books, the Bellingham Review, Berkeley Watershed Poetry Festival, the BIPOC Writing Community, Bird and Beckett Open Mic, Bookshop West Portal, Books Inc., Booksmith, Breadloaf Environmental Writers Conference, Community of Writers Virtual Valley, Dog-Eared Books, Dominican University, Eves at the Beat Museum, Green Apple Books, The Grotto in San Francisco, Litquake, Hedgebrook, Lick Wilmerding High School Parent Book Group, the Marin Poetry Center, the Mechanics Institute, Mill Valley Library, Mills College, MOAD Open Mic, Nomadic Press Open Mic, Or Shalom Jewish Community, Queer Bound Queer Open Mic, Quack Map, which is Queer Women of Color Media Arts Project, Cutie Pock for sure, Radar Productions, Root Slam Poetry Writing Workshop, Rooted and Written, the San Francisco Public Library, Selfish Women Trans Non-Binary Open Mic, Sinister Wisdom, Storied San Francisco, Truth and Beauty Poetry Workshop, Ugly Betty Open Mic, Vona, Word Party Open Mic, Writing Rainbow School, Youth Speaks Brave New Voices International Youth Poetry Slam Festival, and the Zara Norbach Comedy Classes. Tonight, I'm going to be offering you a poetry and music meal. Anybody who's been to an open mic with me knows I usually do a poetry appetizer, which is one poem and a little bit of music. This meal, it's gonna be some courses of poems with a drizzle of music because I got to keep to my time limit. I'm going to play 4 times. In the tradition of Bach, each time I play will be in a key that corresponds to the letters of the Museum of the African Diaspora, MOAD. So this will be F, A, and D. I start and end with music. I dedicate this poetry meal to all who are yes and people, embracing the intersections of our identities. I hope you enjoy. You bring out the emerging cutie pock, queer, transgender, person of color poet in me. After Sandra Cisneros' You Bring Out the Mexican in Me, and For My Children. You bring out the emerging cutie pock poet in me, the only fits in a 3-dimensional Venn diagram in me. She hasn't taken an English class since high school. Who does she think she is in me? The woman-loving woman, yes, also married to a man in me. The Black woman at the synagogue whom you explain everything to, but she's already read it in Aramaic in me. Some lesbians are allergic to cats in me. You are the one who recognizes my alienation in almost any crowd, the quadruple entendres that always seem to fall flat, the flirtations that go nowhere because she doesn't cross color lines. You hear me. You bring out the nascent chanter, singer of praise songs in rhyme, no reason in me. The shame for lusting after that traif woman with tattoos in me. The caught by the rabbi's wife eating a salad with bacon, guilty look in me. The I'm not butch or femme, just me in me. You know who you are. You bring out the Motown rhythms in me, the salt and pepper fan in me, the fat girl in me, the one who loves the humanistic schma in me. The I don't feel comfortable traveling to Israel unless I'm fluent in Hebrew in me. The I don't feel comfortable traveling to Palestine unless I'm fluent in Arabic in me. Look out, I see your smile. You bring out the obsimath in me, the you'll never be a musician, so just go to medical school dream deferred in me. The some Black people speak standard English, some don't in me. The Black pink diaper baby with a Yiddish name in me. I'm calling you now. You bring out the Jewish lesbians are Black in me. The Black Jews aren't lesbians in me. The fat women aren't doctors in me. I haven't seen another Black woman's solo flute recital in over 30 years in me. Maybe no one wants to hear my anthem in me. I'll never give up dreaming and hoping for a world where there is no big deal about me. Smile, we can do this. You bring out the I don't support gays in the military. It's the military I don't support in me. I'm wondering after 242 years why we only have presidents from one gender in me. I'm afraid of violence in the movies, but I'll stand up to a 6'2" violent patient in me. I'm a doctor, but a fat Black woman gets no respect as a patient in me. I always knew I was different in me. Look at me. I am the Black Venus of Willendorf. I see her afro every morning when I shower. Diaspora song with gratitude to Julie Dash. Somebody tried to tell me something. Oh my oh. Grew up hearing about some Fulani or other, raised on Anansi stories. Why didn't I share with my children? Somebody tried to tell me something. Oh my oh. Stephen Biko and Biafra, Mao's Little Red Book, that was grown-up stuff. Somebody tried to tell me something. Oh my oh. They said my father looked Igbo, but I didn't know when I spent time in Brazil that the land of the Orishas was so close. Somebody tried to tell me something. Oh my oh. My mother could feel the living, the dead, the well. Iyamaja pulled me to her, but those wise Afro-Brazilians gifted me white beads, Obatala. Somebody tried to tell me something. Oh my oh. Who are these Black Americans? Oh my oh. We are daughters of the dust, children of the motherland with other lands. Somebody tried to tell me something. Multitudes of gratitudes. I am so grateful for that Black girl magic I seem to have inherited from my mother, in which, when I call out in need to the universe, someone actually answers every time, right on time. Sometimes my mom even answers in the guise of someone else, since she died a few years ago. I am so grateful to literary ancestors, both living and dead, who help keep spirit and hope alive. Lucille Clifton, Thich Nhat Hanh, James Baldwin, W.E.B. Du Bois, Toni Morrison. Did I say Toni Morrison? June Jordan, Pat Parker, Audre Lorde, Salman Rushdie, Leslie Marmon Silko, Orhan Pamuk, Umberto Eco, Sappho, Edith Wharton, Samuel Delaney, Octavia Butler, Nnedi Okorafor, Eve L. Ewing, Bernardine Evaristo, Ursula K. Le Guin, and there are many more, and the group is growing all the time. After the Moad Juneteenth lecture for Marcus Shelby, does it matter where our mothers were born? Does this tie me to you? Were we bound by the historical paths our ancestors traveled through the universe? Or is it just that we are musicians? Rhythms and rhymes, beat, harmonies, and the timbre color our skies, transporting anyone on the music train to the past, present, or future. All I know is that you opened my eyes to the possibilities of the connection between music, history, and art. Even if I had only the gift of your smile on that one-way Zoom connection, it would have been enough. And I thank you for bringing Gladys Bentley back to life. Here's what a 5-minute Jericho Brown lesson taught me for my dad's secular yahrzeit. I've lamented his loss for 24 years. My dad was a lion of a man. My dad was a lion, man, oh man. He taught poems in prisons on the weekends. He spent his own time teaching prisoners poems, One day, he collapsed in a diabetic coma. He'd collapsed alone, his diabetes unknown. Hospital staff labeled him homeless, drunk, Black man. When hospital staff labeled him a drunk, homeless Black man, he was torn between rhythm and meaning. His doctorate did nothing for him. No need for a doctorate while he was torn between meaning and rhythm. He passed solitary hours practicing classical guitar. I remember how he loved playing classical guitar. I've lamented his loss for 24 years. Lift sable voice. Beautiful Black voices slide up and down. I hear the music all around the world. I see the colors of the Black rainbow, Black forest, Black oceans, and Black beaches. Beautiful Black bodies, all shapes and sizes, dance round and round buildings, subways, buses, dirt paths, and superhighways. Beautiful Black bodies can catch the beat anywhere, anytime. Beautiful Black people from every gender of the spectrum radiate creativity, resilience, resistance, and strength. Beautiful Black people eating tasty treats from the sea and the soil. Some places we call it soul food, and in others, cuisine. Beautiful Black diaspora, African diaspora, from earth to sea to sky. Beautiful Black diaspora comforts me. The legend of Bushra, for Bushra. Poets met weekly in a Zoom room group, one always shrouded in darkness and shadows, with lights flickering like dinosaur dances in the background. She claimed she had to join us while outside because of her sleeping child. Last week, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, periwinkle toothbrush in hand. Before I could open my mouth, the mirror shimmered. I stumbled, spun 8 times to find myself by the mouth of a cave deep in the forest. I smelled wood smoke and heard snaps of dry twigs transforming to energy. It was long past dusk. The cobalt night sky glinted with the sprinkle of distant suns. Familiar flames flickered at the cave-side fire, revealing Bushra in all her glory, wearing a breastplate of flower garlands, marigolds, and irises mixed with diamonds. She carried a hand-carved mancala set with game pieces, dried seeds, while her left arm sported a band of pure copper. Bushra could talk to bears and lions alike, no fear. It was our species, the human animal, now come to a crossroads, Bushra raged against to protect children everywhere. Each night, she left her own dear child tucked gently in their bedding, protected in the warm, dry part of the cave to fulfill her mission. The firelight outside Bushra's grotto had a glow that could bestow wisdom revealed to the mind's eye. She scooped up some fire, a tree branch torch, and beckoned me join her by grasping a hold of her copper arm cuff. Then Bushra used her wooden mancala set as a space-time travel machine to visit her other younglings, this time bringing me with her to witness her visit every child in some fearful circumstance on the verge of giving up hope. She gifted each young one the courage to stand up or speak out by shining the light of her torch over their eyes. For those who dreamed at night, shivering alone in fear, some without parents or caged or imprisoned, she wove a cocoon around them from her breastplate flower petals, which would protect their reveries of freedom. In this way, every evening, Bushra covered the earth, gifting courage or hope to each child in need. Back at the fireside outside her cave, Bushra crumpled some leaves, scattering them over my head. I slipped back and found myself standing again before my bathroom mirror. That night at our poets' gathering, I finally understood the dark shadows and flickering lights behind Bushra's Zoom tile. First, mentor. After Dawn McGuire's poetry at the Aphasia Cafe and with gratitude, my lips were sealed and you recognized the sparkle in my eye, my need to express. No longer speechless, you helped me release my voice and sing. Now I sit each morning, pen running freely to paper. I put down a kiss from my soul to the page. But first, I meditate and eat oranges. Their bittersweet mix awakens me. I feel unshatterable. My pen and instrument so precise. I've licked cones of poems about all my lost loves, leaving no mention of the scars scattered on my back and arms from those who don't matter. Quiet now. Let me sing your praises. I was a woman caged, like some sweet angel, you shared the key of poetry. I flew up the chimney and sailed out over the night sky to the sea where the moon shone like glass. A soul unbound can release joy so great, spread it around and still have more to share. My friend, my teacher, a treasure meeting you. I will never again allow anyone to put out my flame. I celebrate the biomythography eclectic with gratitude to Don McLean, Audre Lorde, and Aga Shahid Ali. I had no whiskey, vermouth, or gin, so I swilled rum fast, breath. On the day that the music died, I began to take one last breath. Call it manspreading when there's no room on the bus, but in verbal form, we lament his unasked breath. It's just a short ride away, but in this pandemic, to spy the Pacific shore at day's end, the settings a sun vast breath. Our government crumbles beneath lies and corruption. Repeat shocks in the Senate because no one's aghast, breath. The conductor lifts her baton, directs me to hold that F sharp for 5 full measures. I raise my flute and take one huge tasked breath. Whether strawberry, apple, pear, peach, or plum, I'm allergic to all. My tongue first tingles, then becomes numb, smashed breath. If Aretha Franklin could return for just one last song, she'd open her mouth and stun. We won, asked breath. May we be filled with gratitude, O bringer of life, for each instance and occasion for a fun past breath. Poetic Sisters. Her last poem slips away. My fingertips close the book of complete works, and I miss her. I yearn for her despite not yet having put her book in its rightful place on my shelf. So when I turn to my other sister outsider, I can't yet give myself up to Audre because Pat Parker beckons me still with her innards. As I had to with June Jordan, I learned that I must live without her. All that's left are Pat's pages. After I recover my more even-keeled Black, lesbian, mother, pacifist, Jewish, feminist, physician self, then I can drink Audrey in. Drink deep but slow, like sampling a fine wine. Lord caught me up completely in the poem for Martha. I'm hooked, sinking and swimming, reading and rejoicing and mourning simultaneously. Oh, sister outsiders, would that I had seen you alive. Bringer of life, with gratitude to Otis Redding and Anastasia Renee. The daughter of these three powerful mothers would never lack for adventure. It was just about 9:30, and they were sitting on the dock of the bay, Iyamanja and Octavia Butler's fledgling herself when the azure waters swelled up and she was plopped on the copper sand, gasping for breath, crawling and clawing her way into the world. She was no Athena, just the daughter of the Black Venus of Willendorf. She was no Athena, crawling and clawing her way into the world about 9:30 when she spied Octavia Butler's fledgling flirting at the water's edge with Iyamanja. She was gasping for breath and was so in awe, dipping and diving her way through the world. She was no Athena. She was a water woman on life's adventure, and she was the daughter of these three powerful mothers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so, so much, Yeva. I think all of us are entirely mesmerized by what you just shared. I feel like everything that you shared, from your music to your poetry, you absolutely breathed life into all of the words in such a beautiful, thoughtful way. I think all of us are just soaking in what you've just shared. And I'm just so happy that we've been able to feature you in this space. It's a long time coming and absolutely so joyous to hear. So thank you, Yeva. If there's any website or book or anything, any way we can further support you, please share that in the chat, because I know all of us want more. Thank you so much. And so with that, we're going to continue our second half of the open mic. We have many more open mic readers who will be joining and sharing. I can post the second half of the open mic just as a refresher for those of you coming up. And again, if I've skipped your name in the first half, please just message me directly. So first up, we have Zakia G.E. Capehart. Welcome, Zakia.
Thank you, Nia. It's so good to be here. Greetings, everyone. And Yeva, your poetry and music resonates with my soul. So beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So I have 3 short poems today. The first poem is entitled Birthing Day. I wrote this poem for my mom. Excuse me. Here I am, Mother. I have arrived. I sailed through much water, slipping and sliding along the way to see you on my birthing day. 274 days, you nourished me. Your heart close to mine, I felt the warmth of your movements, meshing in time. When I moved in a different direction, you would tap on your belly as if to say, stop that now. I decide the way. Curling up in a big round ball caused you to stand still. Mother, I'm sorry if my movements caused you pain, for that was not my aim. I only wanted to let you know, Mother dear, I love you. My next poem is a poem I wrote for my granddaughters. They both started dancing when they were 3. This poem is entitled Dance Granddaughters. Dance granddaughters, hear the drum, move your feet. Dance granddaughters, hear the music, feel the beat. Dance granddaughters, step out on the floor, move to the music more and more. Dance granddaughters, listen to the count. The drummer creates the rhythm. Dance granddaughters, swing your arms, stretch your feet. Let your body glide through the air. Across the dance floor, your heart beats, the drum beats, both repeat. Connecting, you reach and leap. You dance, you dance, you dance. Dance granddaughters, dance granddaughters, dance. My last poem is a poem that I wrote when I decided to write a poem about a brother that was watching me everyday exercise. And so this is from what I consider his perspective. It's entitled Sweet Funk. She walks swiftly past my house in the early morn. The thumps of her feet echo the start of the dawn. I eagerly await her graceful appearance. Upon sunrise, from the corner of my eyes, I watch as she enters my streets, swinging her slender brown arms in unison to a march, drenched with sweat. A rainbow is over her crown. I imagine a lovely aroma oozing from her regal body, smelling like sweet funk. My door left ajar. I hear feet double timing and perfectly choreographed, vertical body and slight forward lean, shoulders pressed downward, head elongated. I behold her beauty and gazelle-like movements, for she illuminates agility, a delightful strut that's daring and confident, a queen performing daily exercise regime. I blink and she is out of sight. Tomorrow, I will reveal my admirable thoughts, but today I savor the sweet aroma of sweet funk. Thank you.
Thank you, Zakia.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
all
Yeah.
of those pieces. I think many people in the chat are hoping for a children's book from your dance poem.
Ah, yeah, probably. Thank you. Great idea.
Next up, we have Lorraine Bonner. Welcome, Lorraine.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Thank you very much. Oh, I've just been I'm so happy to be part of this group. I'm just really loving everyone's poetry, and Yeva, oh God, your poetry, your music. Wonderful. Thank you so much. The poetry I'm going to read right now, I have 3 pieces. I'm actually a sculptor, and I've finished a series called Multi-Hued Humanity, and most of the sculptures have poems associated with them. And when I use the term multi-hued humanity, I'm speaking of us as an entire species, not so much interested in the social colors of black or white or yellow or brown or whatever, but that we all have a color, everybody. And so when I say multi-hued humanity, I mean everybody. And that's the title of the first poem. In the beginning was black, silent and infinite. Light entered black, and together they created everything in time. In time, everything created us, a rainbow of browns, deep dark umber to pale rosy beige, multi-hued humanity, multi-gendered, multi-abled, multi-tongued, children of balance. No one knows why a gang stepped out of the rainbow, tagged white all over every home and mind, beat down black, treated sacred earth like dirt. We multi-hued struggle to find a name for them, the gang claiming white. How lonely they must be. They burn the ground as they back away. The next poem is called Thank You, Steve Jobs. The house has no roof. Mud fills every room, the walls stained with strange mold. The family walks in slowly, each mind gripped with some image of the storm, that moment of his or her unique and individual breaking. Far away, someone says, "Look at that filthy house, what animals they are to live that way." Far away, they know nothing of storms. We have cell phone cameras now. Everyone can see the storm. Thank you, Steve Jobs, for making it harder to look away, for opening the multi-hued eye, bringing the footprint on our face close enough to count the nails. We are grateful for this new fine grain resolution. Far away, evidence is irrelevant. This one is called We Are More Than Even We Know. In the future, history teachers will also be grief counselors for children bewildered and sorrowful over us. Every part of our lives will grieve them. Gasoline, Coca-Cola, body cams. Only a few will study incarceration, and only in small groups with the most compassionate mentors. Our calendar passes by the holidays they will celebrate, days when grace filled our trembling souls and we became their ancestors. We don't know yet how it will happen, the flowering, heart and mind, compassion and brilliance, courage and genius. The children beg to hear the thrilling stories again and again. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Lorraine.
Oh, thank you.
You have a great writing style too in the way that you read. And I think a lot of us, those lines in the last piece about what histories the future generations will be learning, I think really hit hard for a lot of us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next up to the mic, we have Hector Castaneda. Welcome, Hector.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. So this poem came to me in the form of a flower that me and my partner walked by, and then I like picked it up and gave it to him, and it just set off this whole thing. The hood gifts to queer men a carnation, one, and while still entranced by the possibility of a smile crowning across the face of a man who wants to cradle intimately, he glances at the lone carnation. He plucks it from its rootless concrete. The carnation, neck crooked with time, tilts its crimson-petaled head, yet holds its own aura with gradients, petals bright red with passionate heartbeats, silken stem, green with nourishing resilience, and he gifts this gift to the blooming heart that unfurls under the skin of a man with a silken smile and the cradling gaze. His mouth blooms, calling him sweet, and in this moment, they both taste honey and exchange nectar behind locked doors. The carnation witnesses their saccharine. It witnessed Mary weeping at the crucifixion of Christ, incarnating its petals into an altar where there was none. It learned enough of God's secrets to absorb Christ's blood into its petals. Carnations were language for secret lovers, questions, messages, solid colored for yes, striped for sorry, yellow for no. So of course, the hood said yes to the queer of our gaze and the interlace of our fingers. It said yes to the unison of our bodies oscillating over islands of mattresses, accumulating cumulus clouds as our breath trusts our chances of drowning. Said yes to his body as my Eucharist, because anything touching my lips becomes holy. In this way, I consecrate his skin into something sacred. I cradle him with my mountain range limbs, and his shoulders bloom carnation fields, and no wonder carnations are known as the flowers of the gods. Sometimes my mouth still bleeds crimson silence, but we just call it God. Aztecs would alchemize carnal carnations to treat chest congestion. No wonder my heart is crowned with coronary coronations, bursting at the thought of us intercradling, our mouths bleeding honey, only blood droplets linger in our throats for now. Coronations of carnal carnations crowning the ceremony of our interchanging bodies pulsing into each other with warm sparks too. The hood gives two queer men a carnation, and both their home hoods smile, bridging spectrums of faint carnations between Eastside San Jose and Daly City. It forms the only red line that unites two souls together rather than splitting them apart. The hood hoods its hoodie and cradles my and his body, intertwined by green stems and carnal petals, crowning us from our crown to the soles of our bedroom dance floor feet. I feel our metaphysical chests decongesting as our throats cradle each other's honey. Sometimes your mouth still bleeds crimson silence, but I just call it Mary's tears. We learn enough of each other's secrets to absorb each other's nectar into our petals. You cry rivulets, and my mouth baptizes your tears into holy water, rivers flowing with blood droplets. Still, our intercarnality incarnates its own intuition. Honeysuckles, its nectarine milk, we bleed soft carnations encrusted with honeyed rubies, and we listen to each other's heartbeat, chests gaping wide with veins intertwining three. So of course the hood said yes to the incarnation of our queer and the interfingering of our gaping palms. If red lines can split entire cities, then our chests can split entire systems when synchronized with the queer of humanity. Thank you all so much.
Wow, that was incredible. I think to say that you speak the language of flowers is an understatement.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. Thank you all for having me. Peace to you all.
Thank you for sharing. So to follow that, next up we have Brett Benson. Welcome, Brett.
Yeah, to follow that. Oh man. Hector, you killed it. Nice job. All right, one poem. This is for anyone who's ever had issues with mental health. It's called Paradigms on the Edge. I see you sitting on the edge of the abyss, my dear friend, as you plead and wish and hope for your eternal grief to end. Like a ship lost at sea, or the soul who just wishes to know why, you question every corner, every angle, every edge on the endless maps for answers. You seek asylum from this ongoing melancholy. You have bellowed several times and again for the right meaning to show itself as if it was a shadow hiding in the darkness, and you never know where they are, frustrating you to no end. As your agony dwells in your being, eating away at your insides as a virus might, tell me, what cracks the rock of your spirit? What is eating away at your sense of self-worth, my fellow sentient mortal being? Is it mortality and how we are all returning to the earth soon enough? Surely you and I are plagued by our disruption when a friend passes to the next form of paradise or simple energy. We wish to hold on to forever as though the celebration of this body will never cease to be. Yea, we are all going there one way or another, and it's not always a guarantee when, how. Can I admit this out loud, vibrantly, as though I would find one of the answers you seek and then present it to you as a precious gift, a piece of enlightenment wrapped in a silk blanket, as though the warmth was enough to make you sane enough to beat another one of your ghostly haunting episodes, or at least not let the cold, bitter truth bite so hard with its frosty daggers, those which do not allow you a moment of joy, a moment where the quiet actually heals a person. And it does not act as an echo chamber of past demons who refuse to die, weighing on your entity as an anchor, dragging you to the watery depths, the crushing pressure on your shoulders. Pause. Calm your wild, barbaric imagination for a moment in time. It is beautiful, yet acting as a bear trap right now, you, your own harshest critic. Thus, I wish to remind you of your everlasting divinity as a sleeping cat, or the ocean waves gently gracing the shoreline, or the cup of early morning tea as you listen to songbirds. I wish to know a treasure so often, and thus when I found it inside, I was made free as oaks spreading out, my spirit taking root, as though I found nutrients in the ground, ready to lift my sense of being out of depression and despair. Therefore, I will sit here and debate the vastness of eternity with your pondering presence. You may wish to know all this form is, which is fine and the noblest of pursuits. I will share with you what I know to be real and sit with you here on the edge for a while, even just to remind you that you aren't alone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brett, for that piece. I feel like all of us are reminding ourselves to slow down and listen to ourselves. So thank you. Thank you for that. Next up, we have Raymond Nat Turner. Welcome, Raymond.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. This piece is called The Low Bar Boss Tweet Rapid Response to COVID-19. If they come for me in the morning, they will come for you in the night. Angelo Y. Davis. Lying anarchists, agitators, communists, Marxists say he's going Pinochet by the bright light of day. Misdirection? Distraction? No way. Only 150,000. Well, maybe 20 times that have died under enlightened leadership of Low Bar Boss Tweet. Still, we have the best tests, the most tests by far. The best healthcare in the world. Cuba ain't shit. 1% is good to us, takes care of us, cradle to grave. Stab the wind with your foam fingers and chant, USA, USA. USA, we're number one. Now, I don't know about you, but I heard Lobar, Boss Tweet, got camouflage cats jumping from unmarked vans, sticking swabs up nostrils, testing for COVID-19. Now, I don't know about you, but I heard Lobar, Boss Tweet got camouflage cats jumping from unmarked vans, cornering citizens and tracking their contacts down. I don't know about you, but I heard Lobar, Boss Tweet got camouflage cats jumping from unmarked vans, whisking folks off to empty five-star hotels for 14-day quarantines. Now, I don't know about you, but I heard Lobar, Boss Tweet got camouflage cats jumping from unmarked vans, handing hand sanitizers, masks, gowns, gloves to beleaguered frontliners, housekeepers, nurses, docs. Now, I don't know about you, but I heard Lobar, Boss Tweet got camouflage cats jumping from unmarked vans and cutting $2,000 a month checks and handing them out to every adult desperately needing to shelter in place. Now, I don't know about you, but I heard Lobar, Boss Tweet, got camouflage cats jumping from unmarked vans with hammers, nails, saws, 2x4s, flattening the curve, raising roofs over heads of the unhoused. And by the way, the number 150,000 times 20 is too big for their badges. And I got this piece called Langston's House. In Langston's home in Harlem, you do as Langston did. Love the jazz, the blues, words, acts, pages and stages. In Langston's home, Harlem, you do as Langston did. Love the people, their problems, pains,
And I think your sound's off. Let me see if we can get Raymond's sound back on. Raymond, I don't know if you can hear us, but there was a glitch in your sound. Let's see. I'm seeing if he can unmute. We were right in the midst of it. Let's see. I definitely thought it was part of it for 1 second.
With his video in order to correct the sound.
Yeah, let's see. I'm seeing if he's still on the call. Oh, no. Raymond, your sound is still off. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna message Raymond Let's see. Raymond, I don't know if you can hear us, but there's an issue with your sound. It keeps sounding like there's a glitch. I don't know if this means you have to leave the meeting and join back in. This is like, I know, the peak part of your poem. I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to make sure that we can hear the rest of your poem. Can you send, Raymond, if you can hear me say this, I'll also message you. Can you send me a message if you're able to check on your sound? We will hopefully get this resolved shortly. Let me see if, I don't know if Raymond can hear me. Let's see. I can't tell if he's still reading or not. I'm so sad because it was right in the middle of his poem. Let's see. Just give me 1 second to see.
See if I can get through to him.
Yeah. Raymond, can you hear me? Raymond, can you hear me now? Okay, I'm gonna message you about your sound, Raymond, because we didn't get to hear the ending of your poem. It kept repeating itself. So perhaps it means rejoining the meeting. I'm gonna go to the next reader, but I would like you to be able to share the rest of your poem. So just message me and we'll try to figure out the sound and get you back in the lineup to finish your poem. You know, there's always something with Zoom. Every time it's a learning experience. All of us are learning together. But thank you for what you did share, Raymond. I think all of us were in awe of both of the pieces, and I think they speak to the times we're all living in so beautifully. So we'll figure out the logistics. I'm gonna have Miles Johnson come up to the mic to go next. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank y'all so much for having and creating this space. And thank you to Yeva, not just for the words, which are dope as always, but also for inviting me and the other folks in our writing circle. So this poem that I'm going to read is after that same writing circle Rootsland workshop led by Issa Borgenson and also Isha Kamara's Alien Party. The first line is also the title of the poem, and it is, if I was in the car on the way to the polls and Medgar was next to me, I simply would have driven to get milkshakes instead. We would have fought, most likely. How can you not see the importance of the Negro vote? How do you expect anything to change? Expect white folks to respect us, expect us to protect ourselves without the power to ballot, boy. And across the median of the station wagon, in the dark, I would have found the grays of his eyes and kept driving. Oh, okay. So you don't hear me then? Or what? You one of them niggas too good to vote? Too good to play by the rules? Too good to fight with the oyster knife that you inherited, grandmother's monogram weathered into the wood? And across the median of time, in the dark, I would have found the blacks of his lips, curled into only a smile that Black folks know how to read. And I would have asked him what flavor milkshake he would like. If I was in the car on the way to the polls with Medgar Evers, I would not have taken Medgar Evers to the polls, and we would have gone out for milkshakes and curly fries and burgers the size of a Kennedy promise. He would have cursed me and my name, my traitorous skin. He would maybe even have spit at me as we sat at the segregated lunch counter so I could feel what's discarded, what's fomented by the powerful. And in between bites of burger, long, silent gulps of milkshake, I would experience heartbreak. I cannot tell Medgar Evers that voting doesn't matter. I cannot tell Medgar Evers that he died in his driveway in vain. I cannot tell Medgar Evers that actually my glasses are a supercomputer, and with them, I know exactly what happens on our drive home from his polling place. I cannot tell Medgar Evers, most of all, that voting adds a tangle, a series of complications, a knot it twists into being able to clearly discern shit that is right from shit that is wrong. I cannot tell Medgar Evers all of these things because while all of them are certainly true, they all are also false. So I reach across the table and persevere through his jerked movements to clasp his clenched, rough fists. I feel the scars he's donned himself and those that he has courageously borne for strangers. I grip Medgar's hands tightly and realize that ultimately I cannot bring myself to say anything at all. The cosplay, the fantasy, the dream state that we create, the best of us wanting to rewrite our trauma out of the revolutions of the earth, the worst of us proclaiming that we are not our ancestors, that I am not Medgar. All of these are mirage, born from naivete. And the thing about mirages is that up close, all there actually is dry and brittle sand. So I sit there and I say nothing as I feel that sand cake my gums and spill down my throat. Ultimately, I do find the courage, though. Medgar, why don't we pick up some burgers and fries for the kids? I'm sure they'd love to eat with their daddy when he gets home. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you so much for that piece, Miles. The perspective on history, and it was wonderful. Thank you. Next up to the mic, we have Shauna Sherman. Welcome, Shauna.
Thank you, Nia, and thanks for having me. And thank you, Yeva. I love your work and miss bumping into you at various spaces. And I especially appreciated the gratitude you had for our ancestor writers. I have 2 poems today, and both are actually inspired by 2 writers from our past. So the first one's called At the Opera for Harriet Jacobs. She'd use words to describe where she traveled, bushy being the forest where slender trees burst with limbs round as an afro, orange this time of year. Moist being other interesting things seen all looped around a visibly flattened animal desire, or 4 holes in a particular part of the woods, each with a design, a trace purple in its moist bowel. It's written her departure either happened or it didn't, a pretending. Her daughter, freckled and ignorant, patted outside the small windowed hiding place where she remained silent. Voices below, stutters apt to confuse the keeper of language into voice, kept her silent, a pretty nothing to this captive because it meant survival now, outside later. Sharp being at the opera today, a proper taking of the moment, a sharp pain in her left leg, her squat limbs sue for comfort after a lifetime of limps. On stage, the tenor's jaw trembles in an aria. Flashback, she'd thought of this, considered it, immediately after the dark then, when fellows walked by the window of her 7-year hiding place and talked of taking in of these very same amusements. All right, the next one's called At the Officers Club, and it starts with an epitaph from a short story by Jessie Fawcett. Why do you always smile? Because it is the easiest way. The tiki torches flare, the DJ has the latest track spinning, bowls of tamarind candy on cocktail tables, and I tick-tock fumble, attempting a ballroom samba jiggle in the shape of a star anise across the dance floor. I dance smooth like vegetable oil, my dress fringed like a palm leaf in a happy, happy blindness. I smelled lime-scented eucalyptus leaves. Servicemen in Hawaii appreciated my gusto, and I shimmied at the change of song, a Prince soon to be classic. You don't have to be beautiful. My shoes leave streaks, resin on the wood floor. I sweat, I'm sore. In the yard outside, I watch cinders sparking the air. A volcano is near. I think, I am air. He said, would you like a peppermint? I turn, smile, and decline. In my bamboo purse, yellow cellophane sweets for the bus ride home over the Ko'olaus. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Shauna. It's always wonderful when all of us writers get to pull in our writing ancestors into the space. So I appreciate that. All right, next up to the mic, we have Joseph Jason Santiago Lacour. Welcome.
Hey, peace, Nia. Yo, peace to all the poets in the place to be. Thank you all so much for contributing and just being here and being healthy enough to actually be here. Thank you. Off top, I want to give a shout out to the Santa Cruz Word Church, which is my poetry community. You're totally invited every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific. Hector is one of my poetry siblings. And yeah, it's a beautiful community, just like here. So, holla. Let me protest by not protesting. Let me find solace in silence for just a bit longer. Let me linger. In this unsure moment before the storm, the eye and the storm still, here we grow again. Standing boldly upright, forcibly folded into fetal position, prayerfully protecting the sacred, I'm scared of dying daily. I dodge cops responsibly. Maybe I'm failing to properly signal before turning the other cheek. Officer, this complexion isn't mine. Last poet's birth and evolution are simply the offspring of collisions of universally Black power mixtape interludes carved into the constellations. I ain't have no control over none of that shit. Or maybe I did. If I had, it would have all started way before my conception, sometime in August '76, before my grandparents all landed magically in the shy, before my lineage got shredded, braided, and rewritten into colonial overtures. The space between these stars is and has always been Black. A beautiful, shiny type Black, wrapped in smiles, not from around here. The first time I was referred to as nigga by another person of color felt like a gift. My still new stepfather, who I now love dearly for having taught me how to talk to the police, had just gotten this Alfa Romeo red GTV6, and I, in my 9-year-old exuberance, stepped on the seats, at which he exclaimed almost reflexively, nigga, what the fuck? My immediate shock was almost instantly replaced with a sense of belonging. Like maybe what he'd meant to say was something more easy, young blood. I believe you are confusing reward with the adversity I've faced as a light-skinned Black man of intelligence and Southern roots. Be mindful in every sense. We watch out for one another. Your mission, brother, should you choose to accept it, is to accept no less than what is right. Bow down to the powers that be, knowing that we are the powers that be. Or maybe he just meant sit down. All I know is that while my armpits and inner thighs gleam almost alabaster, the sun has dressed the rest of me. Wonder years spent wandering the Wild West North Dallas suburbs, my golden years are all baked and melted. In 5th grade, the first to say what's up were 2 young Black kings rocking high top fades and BKs. They, like me, were migrating birds of paradise, too bright for the cold cities we called home. And such a cultural desert was safe harbor to harden our shells in. We built memories big enough to build shelves in, from playing to preying upon mastery together. Growing up through fights, honeys, money, later fatherhood. I spent high school on the South Side, though. A beautifiable older house in the white flight of Oak Cliff. Nice, like within earshot of my high school stadium, and gunfire just too far to tell the caliber. If having best friends who are Black in a white neighborhood was a blessing, then having no friends and not yet knowing you are Black in an all Black neighborhood was the curse. Of course, I got over it. When my hair turned so-called good and pretty, met motherfucker in my lexicon, laughter became the national language and the life raft to which we cling. All the good, bad shit. How nobody really had shit. But all of our families had shit. And we shared this madness, heads nodding in agreement the whole time. I've all but quit trying to quantify my color, because ever since I've been on my best days, blessed to be even barely Black. Peace, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that piece, and thank you for putting us on to the other reading series. I think Elizabeth put it in the chat, so hopefully folks can join that as well. That's great. It's great to continue the circle of writing and poetry. Let's see.
Oh, hey, Nia, can I also mention, I actually found this because of Afrofuturism. Yeah, the event you guys had on Tuesday, Tongo Eisen Martin and Dia Matthews, also another poet that I met in San Francisco at Galeria de la Raza, performed at the MOAD through that organization a long time ago too. So bless it. Keep moving and keep contributing. Peace.
It's a small world. I'm glad that event put you onto this one too. Let's see, next up to the mic, we have Lacey Odoms. Welcome.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna read 3 poems. They're 3 short poems out of my poetry book, Conversations with the Heart and Soul. The first 2 I feel is befitting for where the world is at with the racial tension. And then I'm gonna follow it up with a poem that I wrote directly after my grandmother passed. So it's a reflection of just looking at how myself, my mother, and my grandmother are all connected. So the first poem is History in the Making. We are making history from sand beneath our toes, honey dripping from our lips to slave ships. We are making history from auction posts to plantation fields. We are making history. From cotton fields to slave master bed, we are making history. From the Underground Railroad to freedom at last, we are making history. From Jim Crow laws to dangling in trees, we are making history. From backseat riders to freedom writers, we are making history. From the Harlem Renaissance to Black Power, we are making history. From oppression to freedom of choice, we are making history. From the Supreme Court to the presidential suite, we are making history. We are rewriting history, one voice, one heart, one person at a time. The next one is titled, We Are. We are kings and queens, God-fearing, kingdom-walking, new world exploring before there was a Columbus. Civilization establishing, revolution leading, barriers breaking, we are Black. Whatever we touch turns to gold, for our creative minds lead to innovations, we are Black. Our shades of color are endless, from vanilla bean to dark espresso with a hint of dark blueberry glaze. Our shades of color are God divine, we are Black. Our hair is our crown, whether it's tucked away under a wig, like our Egyptian ancestors, or free, untamed, uncapped, and beautiful, we are Black. We have our own swag. We are the very essence of rhythm. We are Black, we are Black, we are bold, we are fierce, we are beautiful, we are intellects, we are Black. We need no validation, we know who we are. We are Black, we are greatness, we are Black. And the last one is titled A Walk Through 3 Generations. When I was younger, much younger, I would wonder who this beautiful being was with such impeccable style. I simply knew her as grandmother, my mother's mother. But yet I did not know her. It wasn't until I was older, much older, when I began to discover her. Not her simply as my grandmother or my mother's mother, but her. Besides the various roles she played, but the core of her. I discovered I was more of her than I was my mother. Or maybe a blend of both, because after all, my mother was her, even if she didn't realize it. My grandmother and I had a lot in common, more than I would have imagined. We would chat for hours about life and those she loved. Her struggles and life wonders. And how she would dance at my wedding. I recall her saying, "You have only one life, baby, so live it and enjoy it." As I shared my hopes and dreams with her and my feelings of discouragement along the way, she would say, "Nothing in life worth having comes easy. If it comes easy, you don't want it." And then we would talk some more, until sleep tried to consume me and it was time to go. In discovering her identity, I discovered my own. I discovered my own and all that lies beneath the surface, like strength, character, perseverance, integrity, love beyond measure, joy over the littlest sweetness of life, and how 3 generations converge into one. Her, Bonnie Bell, my mother, Yvonne, and me, Lacey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lacey, for sharing those poems and the vulnerability with which you did share them. I know we're all grateful to hear them.
Thank you.
And if you have information about your book, please do put it in the chat so that everyone can support you in your writing as well.
Thank you, will do.
All right, so we have a couple more readers to close us out this evening. I'd like to invite our next reader, Kay Eltine, who I know is calling from across many time zones. So thank you for staying up late, and welcome to the mic.
Thank you so much, Nia. Thank you guys so much for this space. I feel really honored to be here and to hear all of your amazing verses. Tonight, I'm going to be reading a few poems. They come from my forthcoming book. It's called The Moral Judgment of Butterflies, and it will be out in 2021, hopefully in the spring. The first poem I'm going to read is called Plans. Every time I say yes, I return, feel fingers in a battlefield, divvying land on my arms and chest. You want to build something with my lips over memories when we sleep, so I tell the truth. Sometimes I think my hope is living elsewhere. A single mom raising children who communicate in sign language. I know my passport is a sign people miss on the highway and swear was never there until they count every visa I've overstayed and start pointing fingers. I believe we all come back from this life as the cats in Istanbul. I need you to understand that all we will ever be are immigrants. That when the land recedes, the water won't know the color of our skin, but our bones will. Sometimes I want to visit and settle in love, but there are landmines at the border leading to every fantasy. Sometimes, if you look hard enough at something, it will bloom in your eyes and make countries for refugees no one took in. My second poem is headed by a one of my favorite quotes from the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. And it's, why Black people always be the ones to settle, march through the streets like Soweto. And the poem is called Settle. I wonder what they told themselves when dust settled under carpets in lands where clove, mint, and cinnamon turned to soot like smell and taste. Why was I too young to remember anything but how my parents argued in the car over the phone bill? So 30 years later, when I get harangued about distance, about forgetting where I come from, I remind myself that a few dial tones away from every how, when, and why is a dagger. How far I felt those fingers searching for illegalities I carried always in my heart. How I sat through 14 lectures in a language I could barely follow and felt more at home than ever. How after dinner for the first month abroad, I stitched the fluffy gut back into the floral duvet. How the customs officer gently unwrapped it on the steel table before cutting it open, waiting for something there to glow. Why then do our answers about love only survive in pictures? Why can a voice hijack so many passengers but never quietly land? Why are you still looking for that boy who decides now when to pick up the phone? My third poem is called Watermark. Something happens when you lose all your family to a word, when you finally choose sky over lights, cloud over howling and slow disappearance. She calls herself sister, though she's more like a radicalized cousin, disappeared on a bus and only hears herself now. A colorblind brother lurks, says he won't fire unless he smells blood, life, or sorrow. So where do I hide them? First, try your father who raised you Arab and free. Free of what, you ask him. Comb your hair always, leave the house with your afro, people will remember that. A mother's confession singes. I should have let you go, waited for that heartbeat to drown instead of birthing you only to hang, like a teardrop from both of my eyes. One of my teeth won't bleach. Look, he says, there's a brown streak and a blue one. I've never seen anything like it. I think of both Niles of the person I drowned there. To end on a positive note, the last poem I'm going to read is called Nefsi. Nefsi is an Arabic word that has a double meaning. It means my soul, and also it means like me, you know? And it's my ode to self-love. You mustn't beg for love, wave it down for the rush it gives or the places you discover together. Don't look for neighbors in your silence, for that noise that distracts from the breathing of your own life, though it's sleepless as a nightingale. You shouldn't yearn for 8 arms and longer breath underwater, for small silver smiles that expire tomorrow. Never bow your head to loveless duties, those mirages you were taught to chase alone while others walk their path. You mustn't pine for a love. You can nurse like a wound, trace back the life in its scars, confide in, and still look after in your mind. You mustn't mine for love, petrol, or diamonds. Tend to the wealth and splendor in your laughter. Be selfish with your love. Stock, simmer, seal it in jars for winter all year long. Keep your love. Be thankful of its scent on walls and sheets in pantries. Lather in your love at home before you decide someone else is more deserving. Whisper nefsi as you hang laundry. Feel that love spread from your shoulders. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing those pieces. And it was so wonderful getting to hear you last time. And I'm so glad you were able to join us again to share your work. And if you have any references for ways people can support your writing, please put that in the chat as well. So to close us out this evening, I would like to introduce the wonderful Tarita McKell. Welcome, Tarita.
Oh, thank you, Nia, and thanks. Oh my Lord, just it is like a church. I mean, I know we have one word church, but we have, I guess, word churches all over the place. So I was still in the midst of deciding, but I think I'm going to just do this because I think about the women I see walking around, and so I'm going to do this one called "Look at Her," and then end with another poem. Look at her, Bantu tongue ripped into 1,000 pieces, babbles on and on. Eyes disguised Euro lies, colonized vision, breaks looking glass, scatters her soul's search for light. Circle broken, her token blows innocence as she walks and prays in displays of being saved. Holy anvil cripples her feet, hobbling through his story. She evil woman. Vultures pick clean her imagery while mystery bleeds millenniums of memory. Honor left to die, no questions why. Stolen from heaven's earth, immortality's worth, sacred birth. She flies blind in constant search of maternal rights. Vicar of Christ provides the Our Father. Proselytize, worships sacrifice, idle, senseless rules. 5 sensations pray for fools. Hear, see, and speak no evil, judge not lest ye be judged. She falls into a bottomless pit. Without floor, net, or rug, marked lunatic. Drugged by world of hidden tricks, turned inside out, upside down, wrong made right, sold by the pound. She hemorrhages unseen. In nightmares she screams, where few listen or see. In Babylon. In Babylon, she's Babel, babbling on and on. And then the next one, I'm ending with this, and it's called Remember. Remember when stars kissed your eyes? You looked at me, talked about the teapot constellation in 77, year of the snake, same year that child was born, remembering she'd been here before when she got old enough to explain it. Remember how she'd reach for her mama, quick, smooth, like a Runamamu's snake, reacting to a sudden gust of wind. She'd move just like that. Real sensitive, that child's knowledge tree. Could have birthed more like her in this world if Noah's Ark deluge story hadn't drowned so many sacred spines of every kind. But she made it. We made it. Chariot let us ride from the other side where redeemers of dreams abide. No, you wouldn't know their names, more than you or I can count. Sealed in eternity's wheel, this little light we shine, we let the vine shine. Who's we, you ask? Cadres from lives past. Hear them? We do. They got our back. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tarita. What a way to close us out this evening. I think that was uplifting, and we all needed that. And that first piece too, I don't remember hearing that before, which was absolutely wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're both in the book. I'm sorry. They're in the book, Synchronicity, Oracle of Sun Medicine.
Promote your book. Please put links to your book in the chat as well so people can support.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you so much, everyone, for this beautiful evening of poetry. Every time I go into this, I know it's going to be fulfilling and uplifting, and it never disappoints. So thank you, everyone. I do encourage you, this is an ongoing series that MOAD is hosting every 2 weeks. So our next one will be on, let's see, next month is August. So August 13th will be our next open mic. Please check out our website, MOAD SF, for our upcoming programs. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we do want to hear your feedback, how you enjoy our programs. So we'll be putting information in the chat about a survey. I encourage you all to fill it out. And in addition, if you are able to give and support financially, we do appreciate that. What I'm sharing right now has the information for donating, as well as the survey as well. It's a little QR code, so you can use a phone to take a photo of that, and it will direct you to the survey. So thank you again, Yeva, for being our incredible feature this evening. Thank you again to all of our open mic readers and all of you listening and supporting and affirming the work that we do. So please take care and have a good rest of your evening.
I'd like to see the chat. I can't see it. Ooh, where is the chat? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Okay. I was about to say, everyone, you can unmute as you exit the open mic.
Forgive me, Nia. Thank you, Nia.
Oh,
Yeah, that was
was
so dope.
extraordinary.
Good night.
Everybody.
Oh
Oh my God.
The poets were so great tonight.